The rain had been falling since dusk, tapping against the windows like 1,000 restless fingers. Armand sat alone in his small house at the edge of the forest, the silence broken only by the occasional groan of the wooden beams. He checked the clock again, 11:57 p.m. 3 minutes to midnight. Armand hated nights like these, too quiet, too heavy. His grandmother used to tell him stories about midnight visitors, spirits that roamed when the clock struck 12, knocking at the doors of those who lived near the woods. If you opened the door, you would never be seen again. Of course, he didn't believe those tales. He was a grown man now, not a child hiding under blankets. Yet tonight, as the storm howled and the lights flickered, he couldn't shake the unease crawling up his spine. At exactly 12, the power went out. Darkness swallowed the room, leaving only the pale glow of the moon through the curtains. Then came the sound. Knock, knock, knock. Armand froze. The sound was unmistakable, 3 slow knocks at his front door. His breath caught in his throat. No one should be out there, not at this hour, not in this storm. Probably a traveler, he muttered to himself, though his voice trembled. He reached for the flashlight on the table, its weak beam cutting through the gloom. Slowly, he walked toward the door. Each step seemed to echo too loudly, as if the house itself was holding its breath. The knocks came again, louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Armand hesitated, his hand hovering above the handle. Something in his chest screamed, "Don't open it." He remembered his grandmother's warning, "If they come at midnight, do not answer." "Who's there?" he called, forcing steadiness into his voice. Silence, no answer. Only the rain hammering on the roof and the wind wailing through the trees. Armand swallowed hard. If someone needs help, speak now. Again, nothing. Just silence. He stepped back, heart pounding. Maybe it was just his imagination. Maybe the storm had played tricks on him. But then, he noticed something strange. The knocks had not come from the door at all. They had come from the window. Slowly, against every instinct in his body, Armand turned the flashlight toward the glass. And there it was. A face. Pale, hollow-eyed, pressed against the window pane, staring at him through the storm. Its lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. The face did not blink, did not move, only stared. The flashlight slipped from his hand, clattering onto the floor. When he looked back, the window was empty, but from the door came the sound again. Knock, knock, knock. Armand stood frozen, the echoes of the knocking still vibrating in his ears. He tried to convince himself it was just the storm playing tricks, but storms didn't knock. This time, instead of silence, a voice followed. Low, broken, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. Armand? His blood turned to ice. Whoever it was knew his name. He stumbled backward, flashlight beam trembling in his hand. He hadn't told anyone he'd moved here. No friends, no neighbors, no one. "How do you know my name?" he demanded, voice cracking. The voice on the other side chuckled, a dry, rasping sound that didn't belong to any human throat. "Because I've been waiting." Armand's instincts screamed at him to run, but his legs felt nailed to the floor. His grandmother's stories replayed in his head. If they call you by name, never answer. If they ask to be let in, never open the door. The handle began to rattle. Slowly at first, then violently, as though someone or something was shaking it with unnatural strength. Max, his dog, suddenly bolted from the living room, barking furiously at the door. His growls filled the silence, but instead of scaring the intruder away, the laughter outside grew louder. Armand snatched the iron poker from the fireplace. His knuckles whitened as he held it. "Leave! Whoever you are, get away from my house!" The laughter stopped. Then came the whisper again, softer now. "You can't keep me out forever. Midnight is mine." And with that, the knocking ceased. The silence that followed was worse. Armand's heart hammered, waiting, listening, but no sound came. Max whimpered and retreated under the table. Hours passed before the storm calmed. Armand sat in the corner, poker in hand, never taking his eyes off the door. Sleep never came. But when the first light of dawn broke through the windows, he dared to breathe again. He opened the door cautiously, nothing, just wet earth, fallen branches, and the faint marks of footprints leading into the woods. Footprints too large to be human. The next day, Armand drove into the nearest village, shaken and restless. He needed answers. At the local cafe, he asked an old man about strange happenings near the forest. The old man went pale. "You've seen him, haven't you?" Armand frowned. "Seen who?" "The visitor. He comes only at midnight, knocks 3 times and waits. Some say he's a spirit trapped between worlds. Others say he's death itself, looking for company. Armin tried to laugh it off. So I just had a ghost at my door? But the old man's eyes held no humor. If you answer him, he takes you. If you ignore him, he waits until your will breaks. But if he calls you by name, then it's already too late. Armin's stomach nodded. The voice had spoken his name. The man reached across the table, grabbing his wrist with surprising strength. You must leave that house before the next midnight. Do you hear me? Leave before he enters. Armin pulled his hand away. And if I don't? The old man's face darkened. Then you won't live to see another dawn. That evening, Armin packed up. As the sun sank, something strange happened. His car was restored. The engine was finally caught and died as though drained of life. He tried calling for help. No signal. His phone flickered, battery dropping to 0 within seconds. Panic clawed him. He was trapped. By the time he realized he had no choice but to endure another night, the clock was already on. The storm returned heavier than before. The house trembled with every gust of wind. And then, right on. Knock, knock, knock. This time the sound came from the back door. Armin gripped the iron poker tighter, sweat dripping down his face. He whispered a prayer his grandmother had once taught him. But then the voice returned, low and guttural. Armin, why do you hide? You invited me the moment you came here. Armin's heart raced. He hadn't invited anyone. Unless he remembered the old deed papers he signed when buying the property. The contract had been strangely worded. The tenant must welcome what comes with the land. Realization hit him like a knife. He hadn't just bought the house. He had inherited its curse. The knocking grew violent, shaking the door on its hinges. Armin stumbled back. Max barked wildly, but then fell silent with a sharp yelp. Max! Armin cried, spinning around. The dog was gone. The voice chuckled. One door has already opened. Armin tore through the house, searching for Max. The back door was still locked, untouched, yet the dog was nowhere inside. Then he saw it, the window in the kitchen, wide open. Rain poured in, drenching the floor. Armin leaned out, calling desperately. Max, come back! From the woods came a faint bark, then a howl. Not a dog's howl, something deeper, distorted. Fear hollowed his chest. He grabbed a lantern and ventured outside against every instinct. The forest loomed, wet branches clawing at his clothes. He followed the sound, heart hammering. The footprints he'd seen that morning appeared again, but this time fresher, heavier, as though whatever made them had grown larger. Max, he shouted again. A rustle behind him. He turned sharply, nothing. Then, from the darkness, glowing eyes appeared. Not one pair, dozens, watching him, and then among them, Max's bark. But it was wrong, stretched, broken, echoing like something wearing his dog's voice. The forest erupted with laughter, deep, inhuman, and all around him. Armin ran. Back inside, drenched and shaking, Armin slammed the door shut. His lantern flickered, then died, plunging the house into darkness. And then he saw it. Standing in the corner of the living room, tall and thin, its body stitched from shadows. A face pale and stretched, lips curling unnaturally wide, eyes glowing faint red. The door is open now, it whispered, voice like nails on glass. You let me in when you followed the call. Armin stumbled backward, poker raised. Stay away. The visitor tilted its head, smile widening. You cannot fight what is already inside. It stepped closer. The air grew colder. The walls groaned as though the house itself was bending to its will. Armin swung the poker wildly, but it passed through the shadowy figure as if striking smoke. The visitor's laughter filled the room, vibrating through the walls. You belong to me now, Armin. Midnight is mine. Determined not to die here, Armin grabbed his car keys again. He sprinted to the garage, heart pounding. The car sat in the dark, metal slick with rainwater dripping from the roof. He shoved the key into the ignition. This time it roared to life. Relief flooded him. But when he looked up, the figure sat calmly in the passenger seat, smiling. Armin screamed, bolting out of the car. The engine shut off instantly. The visitor didn't chase. It only spoke, voice echoing inside his skull. Run if you like, but when the clock strikes 12 tomorrow, I will finish what I began. Desperate, Armin searched the house for answers. In the attic, he found a chest covered in dust. Inside lay old journals, yellowed with age. They belonged to the house's first owner, his grandmother's brother. The entries described the same visitor, the same knocks at midnight, the same curse. The final page read, "Only fire can banish him. Only flame can close the door once opened." Armand's hands trembled. He had one chance left. The storm returned for a third night. Armand stacked wood in the fireplace, doused it in kerosene, and waited with trembling hands. As the clock struck 12, the visitor appeared again, stepping from the shadows, eyes glowing like embers. Armand hissed, "It is time." Armand struck the match and hurled it into the fire. The flames roared to life, brighter than ever before. The visitor shrieked, its form twisting, writhing, trying to flee. Armand shouted over the roar, "You're not welcome here." The figure dissolved into smoke, screaming as it was swallowed by the fire. The house shook violently, then fell silent. The visitor was gone. Dawn broke. Exhausted, Armand collapsed, believing he had won. For weeks, the house remained quiet. No knocks, no whispers. Max never returned, but at least the nightmare seemed over, until one night, months later, Armand awoke to the sound of claws scratching at his bedroom door. And then, 3 slow knocks. Knock, 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 followed by a whisper. "Armand, did you miss me?"